It is March Madness in New York sports. Lots to talk about on the pod today. Mark Weber and Jarrett Least. First off, the biggest news of the day, the biggest news in New York sports. The Jets trade Elijah Moore to the Cleveland Browns. They traded Moore with a third round pick for a second round pick in this year's draft. The Jets now have 2 second-round picks, which could potentially be used for Aaron Rodgers. Jared, do you think that the Jets made the right move by trading Moore, who's just so early in his career?
My biggest word that I would say when it comes to the Elijah Moore trade is it's disappointing because I really felt sky was the limit for him, especially with Aaron Rodgers coming into the fold. But there's just things we may not know behind the scenes. We know he requested a trade last year when the team was winning games. So that's just a bad look for him. I think ultimately Aaron Rodgers may have had some say because we're already seeing the Jets are very interested in Odell Beckham Jr. That interest is very real. Connor Hughes of SNY is saying that they are in on him. So I think that could be viewed as swapping Beckham in, Moore out. But it's just disappointing because Elijah Moore has potential to be maybe a star receiver, and we're not going to see that. So it's kind of disappointing. I would have liked to have seen how he could have fared with Aaron Rodgers with the Jets.
Do the Jets need Odell Beckham? I know we talked about this a little bit last week. They have Alan Lazard. They just got Mecole Hardman today. Do they need Odell Beckham? Is he really worth it? Would you rather have him over the potential, like you said, of an Elijah Moore next season?
Well, now it's done. Elijah Moore is an ex-Jet. So now looking at it, I think the Jets do need to go get Odell Beckham Jr. I like the receiving room they have right now. Garrett Wilson's a stud. He's going to be a superstar with Rodgers. Lazard has the chemistry already. I love the signing of Mecole Hardman, but it's all about loading up and getting more and more weapons for this Jet team. So now you got to go get Odell Beckham Jr. And if it's not Odell Beckham Jr., I don't realistically see them pulling off a trade for a DeAndre Hopkins, but they need to go get another wide receiver. You're all in on trying to go win a Super Bowl right now. So load up on all the weapons. Right now they put themselves in a position where they got to go do it. Go sign Odell Beckham Jr., bring him to the Jets. Let's do it.
No confidence in Denzel Mims or Corey Davis?
Well, Corey Davis, he's done. He's going to either be cut or he's 100% in the Aaron Rodgers trade. Like he's played his last game as a Jet. I'm confident in that. Denzel Mims stinks, but Aaron Rodgers is a god. He can make anybody look half decent catching footballs. Maybe he can make you look somewhat decent. Maybe make me look average catching balls. He can make Denzel Mims look.
That's saying a lot.
Exactly. That's how great Aaron Rodgers is. He can make Denzel Mims look below average, but no, I have no confidence in Denzel Mims. So Odell Beckham Jr. is a move that the Jets definitely need to make because it's all about loading up on weapons and giving Aaron Rodgers all the tools in the toolbox to really go make a Super Bowl run, which the Jets have that opportunity. So you got to go for it. Go get Odell Beckham.
You mentioned what Rodgers could do with Denzel Mims, which is pretty much miracle working type stuff. What could he have done with Elijah Moore?
Well, that's why I was saying I was just disappointed before because I really think Elijah Moore has 1,000-yard potential as a receiver.
Wow.
There was a stretch when he was a rookie, that 4 or 5 week stretch when he had some of the best numbers of any receiver in the NFL with bad quarterback play. Look, Elijah Moore to me, I don't love him, but I would have liked to have seen him with Rodgers. There's some issues with him. There's no doubt about it. I don't love his football IQ, Elijah Moore. He at times when he catches the ball, he runs backwards. There was also a play last year where he was running to the left sideline where he was clearly open. He had every opportunity to get 2 feet in bounds. He couldn't drag both feet in. There's things that Elijah Moore does that make you scratch your head. So I'm going to trust the Jets in this. I'm going to trust them.
You're going to trust the Jets. That works out how well?
they're on the verge of getting Aaron Rodgers. So look, they built up a roster to make him want to play for the Jets. So at this moment in time, at this moment, we all know that could change come September when the games actually start. But at this very moment, I think they have earned a semblance of our trust. I think so. I know. Do you have any faith in the Jets? I know you never will.
I never will. I never will. You got to prove it. All gas, no brakes until you prove it. Just to bring up something that Jarrett mentioned when it came to Elijah Moore, his rookie season, absolutely phenomenal in the gist of Jets history. His rookie season among all Jets rookie wide receivers, 9th in receiving yards, 3rd in touchdowns. Only Rob Moore and Keyshawn Johnson had more touchdowns as a rookie for the New York Jets than Elijah Moore.
And he missed 6 games.
We couldn't see him without Aaron Rodgers.
He missed 6 games his rookie year too. Like there was a stretch where he was out with injury. So he showed potential. He definitely showed potential. But I know he's going to be lovely, happy in Cleveland now. He's going to be catching passes from Deshaun Watson. Look, ultimately, sometimes the world circles back on you. Elijah Moore requested a trade when the Jets were winning. So now the Joe Douglas and the Jets said, you know what? You got your wish, pal. We're going to ship your ass off to Cleveland. Enjoy that.
Wow. And Cleveland has been a place where just, good dreams just go and vanish.
To die.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be rough. And, it'll be really tough to see Elijah Moore just really not finish that potential with the Cleveland Browns. On a more solemn note, Willis Reed passed away this week at 80 years old. Reed, best known for being the first player to win an All-Star Game MVP, regular season MVP, and NBA Finals MVP. By the way, that was in the same season. The only NBA Finals MVP in Knicks history. Jarrett, I know you're not that much of a history buff, to say the least. If it didn't happen in the last 15 seconds, it's not a big deal for you. How would you assess Willis Reed's legacy as a Knick and a New York sports great from your perspective, being such a big prisoner of the moment all the time?
Well, I blame you that even more so for being prisoner of the moment, because you're the one who got me into TikTok, in which the attention span now is just completely out the window. That's goodbye. So
Twitter, Instagram, for those wondering, Snapchat too.
I blame you for all of my poor, lovely life decisions. So
if you have stock in those companies, except for TikTok, obviously, you could probably thank me, because Jarrett is what's getting your ad money.
It's so true. We're such jerk-offs. We're literally talking about TikTok as you ask about the legacy of Willis Reed. But getting back to Willis Reed, he's always going to be remembered throughout all of sports as pulling a Willis Reed. If a guy in a game, any sport, gets hurt, has to go into the locker room, and it feels like, oh, they're done for the game, and they miraculously come back, that's always going to be remembered as pulling a Willis Reed. That's how I think everyone really will remember him. So he's the captain of the Knicks. He's an iconic figure in NBA history and Knicks history. I'm sure the Knicks will 100% honor him once they get back for their next game at the Garden. Maybe they'll wear a patch on their jersey for the remainder of the season. He's an iconic figure in NBA history. But my lasting memory, without a doubt, has to always be pulling a Willis Reed, because we're not old enough to remember watching him play back when the Knicks won an NBA championship in 1970. So all sports fans will remember Willis Reed, in my opinion, as pulling a Willis Reed of all ages. So he has a lasting legacy till the end of time.
Definitely. And this is a podcast where we really try to avoid situations like this. It's really more of a conversational thing, but Willis Reed is one of the greatest Knicks of all time. And I was thinking about it the last few days. Reed is in a certain echelon of Knicks that really no one comes close to. It's Clyde, Willis Reed, and Patrick Ewing. It's really hard to pick who comes after that, because that is such an elite group of people. And Reed's family, my condolences to them, but condolences to those Knicks fans that watched Reed for all those years and saw him win those 2 championships, because they're really impacted by this today. Reed was a major part of their lives, a major part of why they became Knicks fans, and he'll always remain in New York lore as an absolute legend.
And I
Moving
also
on from that, and it's kind of hard to shift gears from that. The Mets, Francisco Alvarez, made a huge decision today. Spring training doesn't really matter, but the Mets decided it did today. Francisco Alvarez will start the season in Triple-A. Given all the hype around Alvarez, is this the right decision by Buck and Co?
Well, I don't think Alvarez was ever going to make the team opening day. I think once the Mets signed Omar Narvaez in the offseason, they gave him an $8 million deal. They decided then and there that, at least going into opening day, that Tomas Nido and Omar Narvaez were going to be the team's catchers to break camp. Now, Buck Showalter mentioned it earlier today that in the best case scenario, Francisco Alvarez doesn't make the team at any point this year. That would ultimately mean Tomas Nido and Omar Narvaez play well throughout the whole season. That's not going to
Is that a scary thought for you?
That's not
so World Series contender, and Omar Narvaez could be your starting catcher.
Look, they're not going to hit. Tomas Nido can't hit. Omar Narvaez is not a good hitter. They call a good game behind the plate, and that's the tricky thing with a guy like Alvarez. He plays such an important position, and you're dealing with a veteran pitching staff, so he needs to be ready to go behind the plate as a catcher when you're going to be catching Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer with the goals of winning a World Series. But we're going to see Francisco Alvarez this year. I'm confident in it. Those two guys, Narvaez
also,
and Nido,
given the injuries that the Mets have every year, that's
of course, absolutely
very, very likely.
It's you're going the LOL Mets route again. Here we go again.
How could you not? It's being realistic, Jared.
I'm kind of throwing it back at you. Well, meanwhile, literally last week, I'm crying as Edwin Diaz is jumping up and down, tears his patellar tendon. So there's truth to it, but injuries are going to happen. And I don't have faith Narvaez and Nido are going to hit enough. And the fans are going to be calling for Alvarez. The Mets are going to need power. That's the biggest Achilles heel with this Met team. They have a good lineup. They can score runs. But the way the game is predicated today, you need to hit home runs. You just need that long ball sometimes that is just going to swing in the bat, 3-run homer. And the Mets lack that. They lack power in this lineup, and that's what did them in at the end of last season. And we're going to see Francisco Alvarez. I'm confident in it. He'll just have to wait until maybe May or June.
Will you see Francisco Alvarez in October? That's the real question. Because let me give you some optimism. There was another famous catcher that went through a similar situation. Buster Posey in 2009 played 7 games for the San Francisco Giants. Then the following season actually started in the minor leagues. Didn't come up until May. What happened to the Giants in 2010? They won the first World Series in quite some time. Something that Met fans really hope for. Posey won Rookie of the Year that season. Granted, he was 2 years older. Does that history lesson, Jared, give you some confidence in Alvarez? Could we see him in October? Could we see him win Rookie of the Year, even though he's 21 years old?
Well, when it comes to Rookie of the Year, I think there's a chance a Met could win Rookie of the Year, and it may not be Francisco Alvarez. It could be Brett Beatty. But I'll say this about Alvarez. In terms of will he be the catcher for this team come playoff time, I don't think he will be the catcher. I think he'll be on the roster because you're going to need that bat. I have no faith in a guy like Daniel Vogelback. Darren Ruff better be off the team. Darren Ruff
Not being like Frank the Tank.
He cannot
no need for Darren Ruff slander.
But I'll just say this: if Darren Ruff makes the 26-man roster, it will be Armageddon amongst Met fans because one, Darren Ruff doesn't deserve to be on the roster. He's atrocious.
It's a team that's trying to make the World Series. Why are you so worried about Darren Ruff?
Because you got to give the roster spot to Mark Vientos. Darren Ruff is awful. I don't know what it is about Darren Ruff, and I don't know if it's just us Met fans. We just find a way to complain about something, but Darren Ruff's the guy. He's atrocious. He can't hit a lick to save his life. He shouldn't be on the team come opening day. Maybe they'll IL him, fake an injury. Well, I mean, he did have an injury, but look, Francisco Alvarez, he will get his opportunity, I think, come May, come June, July. He's got to catch though. That's the thing. If you want to develop some of these prospects, you got to play them, and they shouldn't be the DH. If Alvarez is a catcher, he's got to catch. Brett Beatty's a third baseman. Let him play third base. You're a Yankee fan when it comes to the Yankees and their young players. Anthony Volpe, he should be the opening day shortstop.
All right. Stop doing my job. All right. Whoa. I'm the one that does the transitions. That being said, Alvarez is going to be 21. You're 21 this season. Volpe is 21 right now. Jared and I, when we were 21, we were just so thankful we could get into a Turtle Bay bar on a Wednesday night. Okay? That's how different it is for these kids. Volpe is in contention to be the starting shortstop for the New York Yankees. Now, it may not seem like a big deal because the Yankees have had a lot of prospects play in recent years, given that the change of the game, how it's been happening. But Volpe is so young. How young is he? That no position player, 21 or younger, has played opening day for the Yankees since Derek Jeter, 1996. You pretty much said it, but how silly would it be for the Yankees not to put Anthony Volpe on the starting lineup on opening day?
When you think about opening day, when you really break it down, it ultimately is just one of 162. So if he doesn't break camp with the Yankees, is it the end of the world? No, but he should break camp and be the opening day shortstop for the New York Yankees, because the Yankees just, in my opinion, have not gone all in terms of spending money, going all out, trying to do everything they can in their power to win a World Series. And that indicates we believe in these young players. So if you're going to send that message to fans and then not have Anthony Volpe be your opening day shortstop, you're just sending all sorts of bad messages to fans. And I just don't think it's the best look. Anthony Volpe is such a great story. He's a local product. He needs to be the opening day shortstop for the Yankees against the Giants. I think it would be such a disheartening feeling for Yankee fans if he wasn't there come opening day. So he deserves it. He's had a great spring. He should be given the opportunity to be the opening day starter and grow with the team throughout the season.
Now, Jared, I know you love a good conspiracy theory.
Yes, I do.
Get your tin hat on right now, your tinfoil hat. I have a theory to why the Yankees are prolonging Volpe starting for the team so soon. And here's what it is. Brian Cashman's job depends on this kid. Look at all the players that he has turned away because he's promised fans: Anthony Volpe, Carlos Correa, Corey Seager, and Trey Turner. Those are three humongous names. Now, to say that Anthony Volpe, who's not even 22 years old and will be 22 at the end of April, is a better long-term investment than those three players who have had success on the major league level is a very, very tough sell. And the longer Volpe does not play in the major leagues, the longer Cashman keeps his job as he's entering his 25th season as the Yankees GM.
You just made my point. You said Brian Cashman's job depends on Anthony Volpe. I don't believe that. I think Brian Cashman...
It does. He's been going away by not spending and spending on a shortstop when they need to, and having guys like Isaiah Kiner-Falefa play shortstop because he's trying to sell the organization on this team, on this kid. And Volpe, if he doesn't succeed, Cashman's out. I think that is the last thing for Cashman.
You think so?
Volpe does not succeed. Cashman looks like a complete idiot.
Oh, yeah.
He's out the door.
Oh, I agree with you. Brian Cashman, I think, should have been gone as the Yankees general manager several years ago. It's just, like you just said it. He's been there for 25 years.
Well, been there for 24, going to be 25.
I think this guy's going to be the general manager after you and I are long dead. I think we're going to have grandchildren. This guy's going to still be the general manager. And it just comes down to this. Hal Steinbrenner has no idea how to run the Yankees. And he's just leaned on Brian Cashman as his guy forever. And he's just, I can't fire him. He won't fire him. He should have been gone several years ago. He's made bad move after bad move after bad move, and he just keeps getting extension after extension after extension. The Yankees need some new blood, and they incorporated it this offseason. They brought in Brian Sabian, they brought in Omar Minaya, some different voices, but ultimately
Omar Minaya is really going to change the team.
He's
That's
the
really
architect.
going to bring the franchise back.
Exactly.
Brian Sabian was a good pickup, though. That was
yeah. Brian Cashman's the architect, and he just
he's the architect, he's the builder, he's the contractor.
Exactly. I'll believe he's the ex-general manager of the Yankees when he's the ex-general manager of the Yankees. I'll believe he's gone when I see it. He's just it seems like he'll never go. But I agree with you. His job should depend on these young prospects because
no, it depends on one, and that's Volpe. Just because of the utter ridiculousness that these fans have had to deal with when it comes to not signing these readily available shortstops, and not even shortstops, Manny Machado too. And he keeps saying Volpe's the guy, he's the next Jeter. And if either they don't win a World Series or Volpe does not work out the door. Has to be. It's inexcusable.
But they have other holes too. I mean, they need Oswald Peraza to be good. They have holes in a lot of areas of this team. So it doesn't just rely on Anthony Volpe. He's a huge part, but they need a bunch of other young kids.
Volpe's been his cop out, though.
Of course, but they need other guys to perform for this team to ultimately dethrone the Houston Astros. Look, the Yankees are the second best team in the American League, but they are light years behind the Astros. They've got a long way to go. That ALCS against them was so eye-opening. So we'll see how they do this upcoming season. They put a lot of pressure on themselves with the inactivity, and it doesn't help when Carlos Rodon is going to be out for an extended period of time either. So it's going to be, we'll see how they do.
Cashman will be with the Yankees for a quarter of a century. A guy that's been around for a lot longer than just a quarter of a century. The man, the legend, Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino is the St. John's basketball coach. Now, this is one of our favorite topics and one of our favorite segments, most importantly. Does Rick Pitino make St. John's with it or not with it?
100% with it. Rick Pitino and St. John's, they were on a billboard in Times Square as he's introduced. Rick Pitino is just a quote machine. In his opening press conference, he literally said, every player on this team, except for his captain, Joel Soriano, you're gone. Like, you're not my type of player. Adios, goodbye. You're not going to play for me. Like, who doesn't love that? And I love a guy who everyone in life is entitled to makes mistakes. But when you own it, you own it. And there's not much more you can say in terms of criticizing a guy. And Rick Pitino has said, I screwed up. I made a lot of mistakes. I know what I've done. I just got to move forward. And you can respect the guy who does that, but he's 100% going to make St. John's with it, because he may make that program top 10 next year. I believe it. Between the transfer portal, the NIL deals, Rick Pitino can legitimately make St. John's a top 10 to 15 program in college basketball next season. He is that legendary of a college basketball coach.
But here's the thing. Last week when I texted you about Pitino going to St. John's, you said not with it. I said with it. What changed your mind?
I think it's just seeing him speak to the media. The guy he looks at people on camera like he is just like he's got the eyes of a devil, like he is going to absolutely.
And in person too.
You have experience back in the day, Mark, when we were in school. You reported for the Big East tournament. You bumped into Rick Pitino.
Yeah, I was running to the locker room because the Syracuse team was heading out early because they just lost the Big East championship in 2013. So I had to go to the press conference and then sprint to the locker room to get some interviews for my radio slot. And as I was running, I bumped into who else but Rick Pitino. And he looked at me with these glaring eyes. I'm going to look right in the camera with these glaring eyes. My life flashed in front of me when he said, "Hey, kid, where do you think you're going? Watch it." Rick Pitino, I was shaking. I woke up the next morning thankful that I was alive. That was the scariest moment of my life. But at the end of the day, Pitino is an absolute legend. I don't know if he's going to make the top 10 immediately. He does have Andre Corbello, Brookville's Lehigh, former alum, Jarrett, who is a fantastic player, has missed a lot of this season, and missed the Big East tournament actually as well. He'll be there for another season, hopefully, and he could really help. Now, you mentioned the recruiting. You mentioned Pitino kind of being that type of guy that could get them to the top 10. How quickly do you think he could really realistically get the 5-star recruits to St. John's? Because remember, Pitino really isn't a guy that was getting 5 stars. He got elite 4 stars like Donovan Mitchell in the past, Earl Clark, but not really the 5-star mega star type players.
Well, I think when it comes to that, it's a twofold question. It could be a little more difficult to get those 5-star recruits, but for a guy like Rick Pitino, does that necessarily matter? If he's getting a bunch of great 3 and 4-star recruits, it's not like this guy can coach his ass off and get this team to being a top 25 program. But ultimately, St. John's, look, we haven't experienced this in our lifetimes, Mark, because they've just been such an irrelevant basketball team in New York for so long.
20 years that NCAA tournament win.
They had the opportunity to really captivate the city. It's, when I listen to sports radio, people genuinely care about St. John's basketball. They are the team.
Well, yeah, because look what they did in the 80s with Chris Mullin and Carnesecca. They were a really big deal.
People care about them in New York, and they're the college basketball team of New York City. They really are. So he has a golden opportunity to really make St. John's basketball with it, and they could sell out some games at the Garden. They're going to be getting most of their games next year at Madison Square Garden, I would believe, over Carnesecca Arena. It's going to be a lot of fun to see. So I'm looking forward to a potential St. John's Syracuse matchup. Rick Pitino versus Adrian Autry.
Feels weird not saying it Boeheim. Feels really weird.
It feels amazing saying it. I'll just be quite clear. And
all right, we say that now. The question is with Pitino and him being with it or not with it at St. John's. What point does the casual sports fan, the person that does not really know about St. John's being a elite basketball program, want to get tickets to Madison Square Garden to see Rick Pitino coach the Red Storm?
If they're good, people will flock.
How good?
Top 15. Top 15. I think if you're 23rd, it's like, oh, okay, there's that Rick Pitino. He knows what he's doing. He's got the program revitalized. But I mean, if they're a top 15 team, and I mean, let's say they are 25-7, and I mean, people are going to flock to MSG to see St. John's basketball. It's a hot arena. I mean, MSG, world's most famous arena. People are going to want to go see good basketball. It will be very entertaining. And look, Rick Pitino, he knows how to captivate the crowd. He just everything about
the all white suits, the swagger,
the charisma, the suits, the stare downs, the way he paces and walks up and down the sideline like a
just like the way you
maniac. He knows how to captivate people. And it was proven with his opening press conference. He relates so well when it comes to storytelling, bringing it back to X's and O's. He truly is one of one. It's going to be great to see Rick Pitino and St. John's. They hit it out of the ballpark with that hire, in my opinion.
We're not doing a podcast, and a sentence that I think no one ever expected any of us to say, St. John's is going to be a program to watch. That is something we definitely did not expect saying when we started this podcast. For Jarrett Least, I am Mark Weber. Go Red Storm. Go St. John's. Wow. Feels pretty weird to say.